This gang was on another level. They weren't just shifting a few kilos or a couple of handguns. They were running what prosecutors later described as one of the largest criminal operations ever uncovered in the UK. Between January and May of 2020, they moved 739 kilos of import quality cocaine, worth over £70 million on the streets. And alongside it, they sold dozens of Scorpion sub-machine guns, the same type later linked to deadly shootings across the country. At the top of the organisation was 38-year-old Mohammed Omar Malik. Using the encrypted handle "Pay Your Bills" on ENCROCHAT, Malik directed everything: where the drugs went, where the cash was stored, who got supplied, and who got paid. Under him, each man had a role. Adrian Gonzalez, known as Terry Tibbs, ran the ENCROCHAT Stash House, a luxury apartment rented specifically to hold guns, ammunition, drugs, and piles of cash. Connor Sandlin, Stella Boat, acted as a courier and enforcer. Daniel Gibbons, Humble Waffle, supplied drugs and firearms and even set up a fake company to try to front importation. Daniel Waters, Obscure Twig, recruited couriers and hid weapons. Andrew Cooney, Fern Pirate, moved cocaine and guns through his network. And Sean Hogan, a dull hyena, dealt in drugs and even purchased one of the gang's firearms for himself. The numbers were staggering. Ledgers later seized showed that in just a few months, the gang handled over £25 million worth of wholesale cocaine, with a potential street value triple that. Records also showed they bought 52 Scorpion machine pistols for around £147,000, then sold at least 48 of them onto other criminals for between £9,000 and £15,000 each. An expert later told the court this was amongst the very highest level of firearms trafficking ever encountered by law enforcement in Britain. For months, the gang believed they were untouchable. ENCROCHAT, they thought, was unbreakable. But what they didn't know was that European law enforcement had already cracked the system under Operation Venetic. Their every message, their coded nicknames, their panicked conversations were already in the hands of the National Crime Agency and Greater Manchester Police. The first cracks appeared on the 22nd of April 2020. Armed police stopped a vehicle in West Yorkshire, recovering a handgun, bullets, and bundles of cash. The occupants were arrested. That evening, Sandlin was picked up at his Rochdale address. When news of his arrest spread through the group, paranoia set in. On ENCROCHAT, Gonzalez messaged Malik, "Ted's been arrested for firearms." Ted was Sandlin's nickname. Moments later, he added, "Switching this off, bro. I'll get on you later. They might come here." Across the chat, similar messages appeared. "Feds can't get in them, can they?" The gang were nervous. What they didn't know was that the feds were already inside, watching every word. Over the next weeks, detectives moved in on stash houses, cars, and apartments across Greater Manchester. On the 14th of June, police searched Malik's Manchester flat. Hidden under a cushion, they found his ENCROCHAT phone. They also discovered a cardboard box stuffed with cash, drugs, and jewellery. The next day, Gibbons and Waters were watched carrying heavy bags into a reddish property. Inside, officers found 2 submachine guns, 2 self-loading pistols, over 1,000 rounds of ammunition, cocaine, amphetamines, and a suitcase containing £616,000 in cash. At Waters' own house, police found cash counting machines, vacuum packing equipment, drug ledgers, and paperwork for a fake warehouse meant to front future imports. That same evening, Gonzalez was arrested as he tried to drive his Mercedes out of an underground car park. Officers later found another hidden ENCROCHAT device concealed under artificial grass on his roof terrace. Cooney and Hogan were also taken down in similar raids. Police seized Porsches, luxury watches, cash in multiple currencies, tasers, and even more quarter-kilo stashes of cocaine. Everywhere they looked, there were signs of wealth, firepower, and arrogance. By December 2023, the case was in front of a jury at Minshall Street Crown Court. The evidence was overwhelming. ENCROCHAT messages, cell site analysis, and raid recoveries all linked the men to their handles. Malik was convicted of conspiracies to supply cocaine, MDMA, and amphetamines, and to possess firearms with intent to endanger life. He was jailed for 38 years. Gibbons received 28 years. Waters was sentenced to 26 years and 5 months. Cooney got 27 years. Hogan, 24 years. Sandlin, who pleaded guilty early, was sentenced to 30 years and 5 months. Gonzalez, the Ancoats stash house manager, was sentenced separately to 25 years. In total, the group received over 170 years in prison. Detective Superintendent Joe Harrop said afterwards, "These men did not care how lethal their commodities were or the consequences for communities. They only cared about making vast amounts of money. They thought they were untouchable, but we were able to systematically dismantle the group and show them this wasn't the case." The National Crime Agency called it chilling, both for the industrial scale of the cocaine and the sheer number of Scorpion machine guns moved through the UK. For the communities of Manchester and beyond, it was a stark reminder of how far organised crime had reached. From luxury stash houses in Ancoats to suburban homes filled with guns and cash, this was criminality on an exceptional scale. A judge told Gonzalez directly, "You are willing to be active in a trade that causes misery to many within our communities. You are inspired by nothing more than greed." The Manchester gang's downfall was ultimately caused by their own overconfidence. They believed encrypted phones made them invisible, but their own words became the evidence that put them away for decades. This case stands as one of the clearest examples of greed, arrogance, and organised crime colliding, and of law enforcement's ability to strike back. For every kilo of cocaine and every Scorpion sold, the gang thought they were getting richer. In the end, they only bought themselves prison terms measured in decades. That's the story of the Manchester Gun and Cocaine Gang, a network that moved £70 million in drugs and dozens of submachine guns, and ended up with its leaders serving nearly 4 decades each behind bars. If you found this breakdown gripping, make sure to subscribe and check out our video on the Suffolk Parish Councillor who hid 463 firearms in a secret room. From rural hordes to Manchester gangs, these cases show just how deeply illegal weapons have spread across the UK. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.